Well, I'm delighted to have back with us today David Rubin. We've had him before, and what an honor to have him back. He's the former mayor of Shiloh, Israel. He also the founder and the president of Shiloh, Israel's Children's Fund. And he is the author of an incredible book entitled The Islamic Tsunami, Israel and America in the Age of Obama. And there is a picture of the book on the screen. You may want to check that out at Barnes & Noble or at Amazon. David, thank you so much for being with us. Good to see you, my friend. Where are you?
You're welcome. Good to be with you. I'm here in Shiloh, in the heart of Samaria, in the biblical heartland of Israel.
God bless you. Nice to have you again. Well, listen, we have been watching the Senator Hagel nomination hearings take place, and he got bumped around pretty hard. What's the feel of him potentially becoming the next Secretary of Defense?
Well, former Senator Hagel is another he's another sign of the shifting of the Obama administration's policy. Now, I don't think that the Obama administration is going to have a very different policy with regards to Israel and the Middle East and terrorism than it did in the last administration. But I believe that it's going to be much more overt, the anti-Israel policy, the pro-Islamic policy, than it was in the first Obama administration, because now he doesn't have to get reelected. So we're seeing the change already, the openness about the anti-Israel and pro-Islamic, pro-Muslim Brotherhood policy already, with the shipping of those F-16 fighter jets to Egypt,
right,
with the continuing of the billions in aid to Egypt. And we, when it comes to the appointments, we have Hagel and John Brennan, who's being appointed the CIA director, and these are blatantly anti-Israel nominees for the job, and they're not people who should be in a position of directing national security for the United States of America. That without question.
Well, it's been announced the president finally, after becoming president, is going to visit Israel in March. I want to get your comments on that, but in the meantime, it appears that Iran is waving its nuclear saber in the air, saying they are now nuclear ready. I mean, you guys must really be on the hot seat.
Well, the leadership of Israel, even though it's in the process of forming a coalition government right now, and that process is going to take a few weeks, they're watching the situation very carefully. And I can say that there are things that I differ with my prime minister about, and there are issues that my views are slightly different than his. Or very different than his, but when it comes to Iran, I believe that he has his hand on the pulse and he's going to do what's right for Israel.
All right, so is the president's visit meaningful in any way? Because obviously with the appointment of his cabinet members, as you said earlier, it seems to be more overt now than ever that there's an anti-Israeli sentiment in this administration.
Well, I think that President Obama's visit is going to be twofold. I think we're going to see on the external part of the visit, we're going to see a lot of smiles and a lot of handshakes and a lot of statements about how the United States and Israel stand together and will work together and are cooperating closely, and how Israel is a strong ally of the United States. You're going to hear all of these things from President Obama and his people. There's going to be a strong effort to have a positive spin on the meetings. At the same time, that positive spin and those words of praise are going to have a very, very definite reason, and the reason is very duplicitous. We're going to see a lot of pressure in private put on Prime Minister Netanyahu on Israel, on his administration, and that pressure is going to be to have large Israeli concessions to the Palestinian Authority in order to get the peace process going again, as if it was ever really going. So there's going to be intense pressure behind the scenes. I can guarantee you that.
Well, do you think that your people believe that a majority of Americans are not with this administration and their policy concerning Israel?
They elected Obama.
Oh.
The American people re-elected President Obama. And I think that Israelis are not a foolish people. They have eyes. They see. I've been trying very hard, and as you know, I'm very involved in speaking and reaching out to the American pro-Jewish, pro-Israel community, and I know that there are many people in the United States of America, in the millions, that stand with Israel, that pray for Israel, that are politically active on behalf of Israel. And when I go to the States and I speak throughout North America and in churches and many other places, speaking about what's going on in Israel, and also speaking about my efforts on behalf of the children here in the biblical heartland through the Shiloh Israel Children's Fund, I see that people stand with us, that there's a tremendous groundswell of support among the grassroots for Israel. On the other hand, your average Israeli looks at the recent elections and they say, well, President Obama was reelected, so America is turning against us. And there is a lot of that feeling out there in the mainstream of Israeli society.
Well, I understand that, but I would also hope that you would feel the support from the faith community in the United States, because I would say the vast majority of them stand with Israel. Tell us about the Children's Fund, the Israeli Children's Fund, and what you're doing with that.
Okay, well, first of all, it's called the Shiloh Israel Children's Fund.
Right.
Because it's based in Shiloh, Israel, even though we have many projects throughout Samaria, which for those people who don't know, Samaria and Judea are the correct biblical terms for what they call the West Bank.
Mm-hmm.
West Bank is a fictional term that was made up in 1948 and really wasn't used until 1967, when Israel recaptured those areas in the Six-Day War. Shiloh Israel Children's Fund was started after my 3-year-old son and I were wounded in a vicious shooting attack by terrorists on the road, right near the headquarters of the Palestinian Authority. And we were shot. I was shot in the leg. My son was shot in the head. The bullet that went into his head and through his neck missed his brainstem by 1 millimeter. So we miraculously survived that attack. We miraculously got away from the terrorists who were shooting, and the car engine was dead. But God was watching over us that day, and we got away from the terrorists. After our whole recovery process had been more or less completed, and I realized the trauma that my son had gone through, the psychological trauma as well as physical trauma. And the more I explored it, the more I saw that there were so many children who suffered from trauma from the terrorism, specifically in the biblical heartland of Israel, that I knew I had to do something, that God had put a mission in me, and I started the Shiloh Israel Children's Fund for the purpose of healing the trauma of the children and at the same time rebuilding the biblical heartland of Israel through the children with our therapeutic projects and our educational projects. And we use all kinds of therapies. We use music and art and animals. We built a petting zoo and a therapeutic horse farm. And all of this is to help the children in a way that children need to be healed.
That's wonderful. If people want to support that, what do they do, David?
or they can just go to our website, which is Shiloh, S-H-I-L-O-H, Shiloh Israel Children.org. That's Shiloh Israel Children.org. And there's also a toll-free number that they can call to give a donation by phone 24 hours a day. And that number is 877-642, well, excuse me, it's 877-742-2064.
Okay.
877-742-2064.
All right. David, thank you. What an honor to have you. We'll talk to you again soon. Our prayers are with you, and many, many blessings and protection for you. We love you, and we'll stay in touch, okay?
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate it.